just a friendly thought. He took another bite of his sandwich. It was a lonely bite. No Ruby, no George to try to win over with a morsel or two. His fingers tapped on his phone. Follow your heart. Joe hit send. Chapter 2. Ruby stared down at the text on her phone. It was the umpteenth time in 2 days that she had looked at it. Follow your heart. It's what her husband told her when he died. It's what a friend had told her when she was so lost she didn't know where to turn. It was the phrase that had come to her in her sleep. Follow your heart. But did she know her heart? She thought she did. She always wanted to be wild and free, exploring and having non-stop adventures. She had put that dream aside when she had married George. Dear, sweet George, solid and steadfast, an accountant, a planner, a man who loved his recliner and his losing Cleveland sports teams. George. The man who knew her heart, even when she thought he didn't. The man who knew he was going to die, so he secretly bought Ruby her teardrop camper so she could follow her impetuous dream. The man with the foresight to open an insurance policy that would provide her with enough funds to keep her comfortable. Dear, sweet George. Dear, dead George. Now that she was free, she fiercely wished she wasn't. She would trade it all to have her George back. A tear meandered down her cheek, ending in the corner of her mouth, salty. George gently licked it away. George, the dog, not George, the husband. She reached over and scratched the little border terrier mix behind the ears. He stretched his neck out and smiled, his eyes half closed. George had come to her at a national forest campsite. He was a dirty stray, and she was alone. She cleaned him up, discovering a leather collar with the name George embossed in the leather. That threw Ruby. She didn't want to have anything to do with the dog. But a kind forest ranger and the persistent pup had convinced Ruby to take a chance on the mutt. Now they were inseparable. George had very strong opinions on men. Most of them he didn't like. He had raised his lip and snarled at Joe on many occasions. Joe just laughed at him. George let Joe know he wasn't amused. Joe became uneasy when he realized the dog could read his mind. But he really couldn't. Could he? Joe joked that George, the husband, had come back reincarnated as George, the dog. Joe laughed about that, uneasily. It was just too strange. Ruby was heading down to the Florida Keys, pulling her little teardrop camper. She was traveling toward Joe, but he didn't know it. She wasn't in a hurry. She was taking her time, thinking. They had just met. She wasn't ready for a relationship. She still missed her husband. She liked being free and alone, but she didn't always like being alone. She was conflicted. She had George. She was still lonely. She drove toward Florida. Somewhere in Georgia, her phone rang. It was her boss, Lainey. She wanted to let Ruby know that the article about Assateague Island was great, and they had selected some of Joe's photos to accompany it. She also had several more articles that needed Ruby's editing skills, and Ruby would find them in her inbox. Mostly. Lainey was nosy and wanted to know if Ruby was all right, and what was up with this Joe guy. Was he just a professional contact?